All right, back to school season isn't just about fresh supplies and new schedules for parents of high school seniors. It's the countdown to financial independence. Now, before they head off to college, the military, or start their first full-time job, they're going to be facing some real-world money decisions on their own. And everyday expenses can really be a wake-up call, right? So here to help navigate parents on these conversations is Tourek with Wilde Wealth Management Group. Tom, good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Now, this seems to, I wish there was like a course that they taught you in high school before you enter the real world, because sometimes there's really not a whole lot that you know what you're doing when it comes to real world money, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the best lessons that we could look for as far as teaching our kids when they're leaving school or leaving for school, leaving for the military, get their first job, is really to encourage them to work within a budget, to understand what their income is, understand that they shouldn't be intentionally taking on debt to try to live a lifestyle that they can't afford just yet. But that type of discipline really will carry forward for the rest of their lives.
And I like what you wrote here, that you said every financial decision has consequences, both good and bad, because we're talking about credit scores that could obviously impact the rest of your life when it comes to buying a car, a house, anything like that, even getting rent.
Yeah, and that's something that, in the defense of the kids, they don't really understand that. They have no way to understand that. So the best thing we can do as parents, I have two boys who I have a freshman that's walking into GCU this year and I have a sophomore at GCU. And I know that with them, excuse me, helping them to understand the importance of budgeting, the importance of maintaining that discipline is key. It's very, it can be a very discouraging and also kind of intimidating process for the kids, because they don't understand how expensive life can be.
Yeah, and I guess that's why parents need to really kind of sit down with their kid before they head off and talk about where that money comes from a paycheck, because you think you're making X amount of dollars, and then after taxes that really starts to dwindle down, and then you really need to make sure that you have that budget.
Yeah, and that's a very difficult situation, because the kids don't necessarily understand that Uncle Sam's going to dip into the paycheck.
Right.
So I think it's critically important that the kids understand. Let's say that they're making, I'm going to keep numbers easy, if they have a job, they're making $20 an hour, they're not going to receive $20 an hour. So they need to understand how much is going to go to the government, what's going to taxes. Then they need to understand the importance of being able to provide for themselves. So they have to start saving immediately. What I would like to encourage kids to do is save maybe 10 to 15% of your pay, each pay period, whatever that may be. Set that aside, set yourself up an emergency fund, and then live off of the remaining 85 to 90% of their net income. So it's difficult, I understand that, and it's also incredibly difficult for kids when they're trying to keep up with some of their friends.
Sure.
But you think about it, like my wife and I, we like to stop at Dutch periodically, and it's an easy, 13, 15 bucks for a couple drinks. I know that both my boys, when they were playing high school baseball, the team would go out and they'd want to have a bite to eat, and it's not cheap.
No. The other thing I think a lot of kids get into trouble with when they're first on their own is credit cards. They don't really understand that that's not free money, is it?
No, not exactly. It's very profitable for the institutions that issue the credit cards, but the best advice that we could give to the kids is really, again, try to maintain that cash budget. If they're living within their means, I don't have a problem necessarily if they're taking out a credit card to establish credit and they're paying off that credit each month, but statistically, for example, I do a lot of work with Dave Ramsey, so statistically what we've seen is that people who swipe a card, they will spend 40% more than those people who go walk around with cash. So if we can encourage the kids to go, even for a month, if they just took X amount of dollars in their pocket, spend that money, and when they're out of money, stop spending, I think they'd be really shocked as to how much or how quickly that money can actually go.
Yeah, when you see that money coming out of that wallet, it is painful, right? It's a little bit easier when you're swiping that card.
Yeah,
that's a great tip. If folks want to get a hold of you, Tom, and they have other questions, how can they do that?
They can give me a direct call. My number is 623-341-8273.
Some good tips there, Tom. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. All right, still ahead, raising awareness one ride at a time, Des.
All right, the father